When Elena Morales saw the photograph on the crew leader's desk, 23 years of carefully buried memories came flooding back in a single, devastating moment. And when she shouted those words that would change both their lives forever, Dominic "Dom" Castellano realized that the past he'd spent 2 decades trying to outrun had just walked into his garage wearing a cleaning uniform and rubber gloves. But we're getting ahead of ourselves. Let's go back. Back to the beginning. Back to when Elena was just another invisible person doing invisible work, and Dom was the untouchable leader of the Midnight Dragons. And neither of them knew that their carefully separated worlds were about to collide in the most unexpected way. 3 days earlier, Elena Morales had perfected the art of being invisible. At 32, she'd spent the last decade as a commercial cleaner, the kind of person who came after hours, cleaned other people's spaces, and left before anyone arrived to notice she'd been there. It was honest work that paid the bills, let her care for her 7-year-old daughter Sophia, and kept her safely below the radar of the dangerous world she'd left behind. Tonight's new contract was a garage in the warehouse district. The dispatch sheet said Midnight Dragons Auto Services, some kind of custom car shop that needed deep cleaning twice a week. The pay was good, unusually good, which should have been her first warning. But Elena needed good pay. The medical bills from Sophia's asthma treatments were piling up, and her landlord had just raised the rent, so she'd taken the job without asking questions. The garage was bigger than she expected, a converted warehouse with 6 service bays, professional equipment, and cars that looked like they belonged in magazines rather than a Southside auto shop. Everything was surprisingly organized, just covered in the inevitable grime of daily work. Elena tied her hair back, pulled on her gloves, and got to work. She'd learned long ago to keep her head down and her mind occupied. Clean methodically, efficiently. Don't look too closely at anything that isn't dirt or grime. It was a survival skill from her years in foster care and group homes, the ability to be present but not really there, to observe without being observed. The first bay was routine. Tools to organize, floors to mop, workbenches to wipe down. The second bay held a beautiful black Dodge Charger with red racing stripes that made Elena pause despite herself. She'd always loved cars, back before life got complicated, back when she'd had dreams bigger than survival. She moved to the third bay and found the office. It was small, just a desk, file cabinets, a wall covered with photos and news clippings about street racing. Elena almost backed out immediately. Street racing meant illegal activity, and illegal activity meant staying far away. But the office was clearly part of her contracted cleaning area, and she needed this job. She started with the floors, then the windows, working her way toward the desk. That's when she saw it, not prominently displayed, but tucked in the corner of the desk next to a coffee mug and a stack of invoices. A small framed photograph, the edges worn like it had been handled often. Elena picked it up to dust underneath, and her world stopped. The photograph was old, the colors faded to sepia tones. It showed 2 children standing in front of a brick building she recognized instantly, St. Catherine's Home for Children, where she'd spent 3 years of her childhood. The boy in the photo was maybe 10, dark-haired and serious, standing protectively beside a younger girl with pigtails who was grinning at the camera despite a bruised cheek. Elena knew that bruise. She'd gotten it when Marcus Delaney, one of the older boys, had pushed her down the stairs. The boy in the photo, Nico, they'd called him, though his real name was Dominic, had found her crying in the supply closet and brought her ice wrapped in a stolen dish towel. He'd been her protector at St. Catherine's, the older kid who made sure the younger ones survived the system's casual cruelty. Then he'd been adopted at 11, and Elena never saw him again. She was still standing there, frozen with the photograph in her hands, when she heard footsteps behind her. The office wasn't supposed to be cleaned until Friday. The voice was deep, authoritative, and achingly familiar. Elena turned slowly, the photograph still clutched in her hands. The man in the doorway was tall, built like an athlete, wearing jeans and a black t-shirt that showed tattoos covering both arms. His face had matured from the serious 10-year-old in the photo, hardened by years and experiences she couldn't imagine. But Elena would have recognized those eyes anywhere, dark, intense, and carrying shadows that hadn't been there at St. Catherine's. Nico? The name came out as barely a whisper. His expression shifted from mild annoyance to sharp attention. Nobody calls me that. You probably don't remember me. Elena's voice was steadier now, though her hands still trembled. I'm Elena Morales. That boy grew up with me in the orphanage. The words burst out of her before she could stop them, louder than she intended, charged with 23 years of wondering what had happened to the boy who'd protected her, who'd been her only friend in that awful place. She held up the photograph like evidence. This is us. This is St. Catherine's. I was there, Nico. I remember you. The silence that followed was absolute. Dom, because that's who he was now. She could see it in his posture, his presence, the way he commanded space. Stared at her like she was a ghost. His face went through a series of emotions too quick to track. Shock, disbelief, recognition, and finally something that looked almost like pain. Ellie? He took a step forward, then stopped himself. Little Ellie, who loved books and wanted to be a teacher. The nickname hit her like a physical thing. Nobody had called her that in over 2 decades. I never became a teacher, she said softly. I'm a cleaner now, single mother. Sophia's 7. We live in Pilsen. The words came out in a rush, filling the awkward space. I didn't know this was your garage. The dispatch just said I wouldn't have. You're the new cleaning contractor. Dom ran a hand through his hair, a gesture so achingly familiar from their childhood that Elena felt tears prick her eyes. Jesus, out of all the garages in Chicago, you get assigned to mine. I can leave. I can tell my supervisor there's a conflict of interest. No. The word was immediate, almost sharp. No, don't do that. He looked at her, really looked at her, for the first time, taking in her cleaning uniform, the tiredness around her eyes, the worn wedding ring on her left hand. You need this job. It wasn't a question, but Elena nodded anyway. Medical bills. My daughter has asthma, and my husband, he died 2 years ago. Construction accident. She didn't know why she was telling him this stranger who used to be Nico, except that looking at him felt like looking at the only person who understood where she came from. If you love forbidden love stories where past and present collide, subscribe and don't miss what happens next. Dom's expression softened. I'm sorry. About your husband. Thank you. Elena carefully set the photograph back on his desk, exactly where it had been. I should finish the cleaning. Why do you still have that picture? The question escaped before she could stop it. Of us, I mean. At St. Catherine's. Dom looked at the photograph, then back at her. Because you were real. In a place where everything was temporary and everyone eventually left, you were the one person who saw me as a person, not just another unwanted kid. You shared your books with me. You saved me half your dessert every Sunday even though you were always hungry. He stopped, shaking his head. I never forgot you, Ellie. I looked for you after I got adopted, but the system's records were sealed and I was just a kid. Eventually, I had to let it go. Elena felt something crack open in her chest, a door she'd locked 23 years ago when Nico disappeared into a better life and left her behind in St. Catherine's hell. I never forgot you either, she admitted. You were the only good thing about that place. They stood there in the small office, 2 people carrying the weight of shared trauma and separate survival, connected by a photograph and a past neither had been able to fully escape. Then footsteps sounded outside, followed by voices, Dom's crew arriving for the night's work. His expression shifted immediately, walls going up, the vulnerability disappearing behind the mask of the crew leader. We can't talk about this here, not in front of them. I understand. Elena picked up her cleaning supplies. I should go anyway, it's late. Tomorrow, Dom said. Can you come back tomorrow? Same time? We need to talk, really talk. Elena knew she should say no, should keep her head down, do her job, maintain the careful distance she'd built between herself and anything that could disrupt her safe, quiet life. But this was Nico, the boy who'd protected her when no one else would. Tomorrow, she agreed. Elena spent the next day in a state of carefully controlled anxiety. Between her morning cleaning shifts at an office building and picking up Sophia from school, she couldn't stop thinking about the photograph, about Nico, Dom, about the impossible collision of past and present. She'd built a good life, a safe life. Nothing exciting but stable. She worked hard, paid her bills, raised her daughter to be kind and smart. She didn't take risks. She didn't get involved in anything complicated. But Dom's garage wasn't just complicated. It was dangerous. Even Elena, who deliberately avoided knowing things, had heard whispers about the Midnight Dragons, street racing, illegal gambling, activities that attracted the kind of attention she'd spent her adult life avoiding. Yet here she was, parking her beat-up Toyota outside the garage at midnight, walking back into a world that should have stayed buried in her past. Dom was waiting for her in the office, but he wasn't alone. 3 other people were there. A stocky man with a shaved head, a woman with purple-streaked hair wearing mechanics coveralls, and a younger guy who couldn't be more than 25. "This is my crew," Dom said simply. "Marcus, Lena, and Terrence. They know about St. Catherine's. I told them." Elena felt exposed, vulnerable. "You told them?" "They're family," Dom said. And something in how he said it made Elena understand that this was his version of St. Catherine's, the protective unit he'd built to replace the one neither of them had growing up. "If you're going to be here, they need to know why." Marcus studied her with open skepticism. "Boss says you're from the old days, that you can be trusted." "I'm just a cleaner," Elena said quietly. "I'm not trying to be part of anything." "But you're here." Lena's voice was gentler, curious rather than hostile. "After hours, when you could have finished your work and left. So you're trying to be part of something even if you don't want to admit it." Elena opened her mouth to deny it, then closed it. Because Lena was right. She could have done her job and left. Could have told Dom she didn't have time to talk. Could have requested a different assignment from her supervisor. But she was here. "I wanted to understand what happened to him," Elena said finally, looking at Dom. "After St. Catherine's, you disappeared into this perfect adopted family and I..." She stopped, the old wounds suddenly fresh. "I spent 5 more years in the system. 3 different foster homes, 2 group homes. I aged out at 18 with $700 and a social worker's phone number I never called. I always wondered if you got the happy ending I didn't." Dom's expression was complicated, guilt and understanding and something darker. "I got adopted by the Castellanos. Good people, wealthy, wanted to give a kid a better life. On paper, it looked perfect." "On paper?" Elena caught the implication. "Let's just say their son had died, and they wanted a replacement, not an actual child with his own identity. When I didn't fit the mold, when I wanted to race cars instead of becoming a lawyer, when I questioned their values, the cracks started showing." Dom leaned against his desk, arms crossed. "I ran away at 16, lived on the streets for a while, started racing for money, built this crew. The Castellanos tried to bring me back for appearance's sake, but eventually they gave up. Officially, I'm still their son on paper. In reality, I'm just the disappointment they don't talk about at dinner parties." Elena absorbed this, her image of Nico's perfect escape crumbling. "I'm sorry." "Don't be, I got what I needed from them. Survival skills, education, enough stability to figure out who I actually was." Dom gestured to the garage around them. "This is real. The crew, the racing, building something that's actually mine. It's not legal and it's not safe, but it's honest in a way their world never was." "Boss," Marcus interrupted. "Not to break up the reunion, but we've got a problem. Julio's crew is spreading rumors that we're going soft, that we're running scared after last month's race. He's calling Dom out publicly." Dom's jaw tightened. "When?" "Friday night. Public race, high stakes. He's saying if you don't show, the dragons are finished in this city." Elena watched the transformation, Dom shifting from the vulnerable boy sharing his story to the crew leader making tactical decisions. This was the man he'd become, someone who navigated danger as casually as she navigated her cleaning routes. "Set it up," Dom said. "Standard terms, no weapons, winner takes the territory dispute. I'm tired of Julio's bullshit." Marcus nodded and left, Terrence following. Lena lingered in the doorway. "Be careful, boss," she said. "Julio doesn't play fair. Neither do I when I have to." After Lena left, Elena and Dom were alone again, but the easy intimacy from the night before had been replaced by the reality of who they'd become. Two people from the same broken place who'd taken very different paths to survival. "This is your life now," Elena said. It wasn't a question. "The racing, the danger, the constant territorial battles." "Yeah." Dom met her eyes. "Still want to understand it?" Elena should have said no. Should have walked away, done her job, kept her distance. But looking at Dom, at the boy who'd saved her ice wrapped in a stolen towel, who'd shared his secret stash of books, who'd been the only person at St. Catherine's who'd made her feel like she mattered, she couldn't walk away. "Show me," she said. Over the next 3 hours, Dom showed her his world. He introduced her to the full crew, not just Marcus, Lena, and Terrence, but Jake, Tommy, and Rosa, the mechanic who kept the cars running. He explained how the Midnight Dragons weren't just about racing. They protected their neighborhood, settled disputes, provided jobs for kids who'd aged out of the system like they had. It was organized crime, yes, but it was also a community, a family built from people who'd been failed by every legitimate system. Elena cleaned while she observed, her hands going through familiar motions while her mind tried to process everything she was learning. These weren't the faceless criminals she'd imagined. They were people like her, survivors, people who'd taken the broken pieces of their lives and built something, even if that something existed outside the law. "You built this," she said to Dom as he drove her to her car later that night. He'd insisted, saying the neighborhood wasn't safe at this hour. A whole family, a whole community. It's impressive. "It's illegal," Dom countered. "Let's not romanticize it. I break the law every time I race. My crew engages in activities that could put them in prison. This isn't a feel-good story, Ellie." "I know that." Elena looked at him in the dashboard lights, his profile harsh and handsome, his hands comfortable on the wheel in a way that spoke of countless hours driving. "But it's also not the monster story the media tells. You help people. You protect your neighborhood. You gave jobs to kids who had nowhere else to go. I also put them in danger, put them at risk of arrest, injury, worse." Dom's voice was tight. "Don't make me into something I'm not just because we shared a past." Elena was quiet for a moment. "Is that what you think I'm doing?" "Isn't it? I'm not Nico anymore, Ellie. That scared kid at St. Catherine's doesn't exist. I'm Dom Castellano, leader of an illegal street racing crew, wanted by the police, targeted by rival gangs. I'm not someone you should want to understand." "Maybe not," Elena agreed, "but I do anyway." They'd reached her car, her reliable, boring Toyota that represented everything safe and legal about her life. Dom parked beside it but didn't immediately let her out. "Friday's race," he said finally. "Don't come. I mean it. If things go wrong, if Julio decides to escalate beyond just racing, I don't want you anywhere near it. Will you be okay? I've done 100 races like this, I'll be fine." But Elena heard the uncertainty underneath his confidence. Heard the boy from St. Catherine's who'd learned to protect others but never quite figured out how to protect himself. "I'll stay away from the race," she said, "but I'll be here Saturday to clean, and I expect to see you alive." Dom smiled, brief but genuine. "Is that an order? Consider it a request from the only person who knew you when you were Nico." He reached out and touched her hand, just briefly, just enough to send electricity through her entire body. "I never stopped being him, you know. Not completely. He's still in here somewhere, buried under everything else." "I know," Elena whispered. "I can see him." Then she was getting out of the car, walking to her own vehicle, driving home to her sleeping daughter and her safe, quiet life, knowing that something fundamental had shifted and she couldn't pretend otherwise. Elena kept her promise and stayed away from Friday's race. But she didn't sleep, lying awake listening to every siren, checking her phone compulsively for news reports of accidents or arrests in the warehouse district. Dom survived. When she arrived Saturday night to clean, he was there, bruised but alive, with a first-place trophy on his desk and a tension in his shoulders that spoke of victory, won at a cost. "You won," she said, relief flooding through her. "Yeah." He touched his ribs gingerly. Julio's car clipped mine during the final turn. Minor collision. Nothing the cops could prove was intentional, but enough to remind me why I hate racing the serpents. Elena wanted to lecture him about the danger, about the stupidity of risking his life for territory and reputation. Instead, she asked, "Does it hurt?" "Only when I breathe." He smiled wryly. "I've had worse." "Let me see." "Ellie. I raised a daughter on my own for 5 years. I know how to assess an injury." She moved closer, professional despite the way her heart raced. "Shirt up." Dom hesitated, then lifted his shirt to reveal his torso. Elena had seen the tattoos on his arms, but his chest and ribs were covered in more intricate work. Dragons, flames, script she couldn't read, and underneath the art, darkening bruises that made her wince. "You need ice," she said, forcing herself to focus on the injury rather than the way his muscles moved under her gentle examination. "And probably better medical attention than whatever makeshift care your crew provided." "Can't go to a hospital. Too many questions." "I didn't say hospital. I said better medical attention." Elena pulled out her phone. "My neighbor is a retired nurse. She helps me with Sophia's asthma care. She's discreet and she owes me favors." "Ellie, you don't have to." "Yes, I do." She was already texting Mrs. Rodriguez. "You saved my life once, Nico. Metaphorically maybe, but you did. You made St. Catherine's survivable. Now let me help you survive this." Something shifted in Dom's expression. The walls coming down, the vulnerability showing through. "You're going to be trouble for me, aren't you?" "Probably." Elena looked up from her phone. "Mrs. Rodriguez can see you tomorrow at 2. Her apartment, not a clinic. She'll check your ribs, give you proper anti-inflammatories, tell you if you need actual medical intervention. And before you refuse, think about your crew. If something's seriously wrong and you don't address it, you're putting them at risk too." Dom studied her for a long moment. "When did you get so bossy?" "When I had to survive the system alone." She said it without bitterness, just fact. "I learned to take care of myself because nobody else would. Now I take care of my daughter, and apparently I'm taking care of stubborn street racers who don't know when to see a doctor." "Apparently." But Dom was smiling, and Elena realized how much she'd missed that expression, the unguarded joy that used to appear when someone at St. Catherine's did something kind, something that proved they weren't all just surviving. They were human. Over the next 2 weeks, something fundamental shifted between them. Dom kept his appointment with Mrs. Rodriguez, who pronounced him bruised but not broken. Elena cleaned the garage twice a week as contracted, but increasingly those cleaning sessions turned into conversations. Dom would work on cars while she cleaned, and they'd talk about St. Catherine's, about the years after, about the people they'd become. Elena learned about Dom's brother Miguel, about the guilt Dom carried for not protecting him better. Dom learned about Elena's husband Roberto, about her grief and her determination to give Sophia the stable childhood neither of them had experienced. "You're a good mother," Dom said one night, looking at the photo Elena kept in her wallet. Sophia smiling gap-toothed at the camera, holding her inhaler like a trophy. "I'm trying to be." Elena tucked the photo away. "It's hard doing it alone. Some days I feel like I'm failing her." "You're not. Trust me, I know what failing looks like. What you're doing, working 2 jobs, keeping her safe, making sure she has opportunities you didn't. That's not failing. That's love." The words hit Elena harder than they should have. She blinked back sudden tears. "Thank you, I needed to hear that." Dom moved closer, and suddenly the comfortable distance they'd maintained felt charged, electric. "Ellie, I need to tell you something." "What?" "This," he gestured between them. "Whatever this is, it's getting complicated. And my life, my world, it's dangerous. I told you that before, but I don't think you really understand what it means. People who get close to me become targets. Leverage. I can't I know the risks, Elena interrupted. I'm not naive, Dom. I see what you do, I understand the danger. But I also see you trying to protect me from yourself, and I need you to understand something. I spent my entire childhood being told I wasn't worth protecting, that I was too broken, too damaged, too much trouble. I survived by being invisible. But with you, I don't want to be invisible anymore. Dom stared at her, something like pain and hope warring in his expression. I can't promise you safety. I'm not asking for safety. I'm asking for honesty, for connection, for someone who understands where I came from because they were there too. She took a breath, gathering courage. I'm asking for you, as you are, not some sanitized version that fits into my safe little world. Your safe little world is important, Dom said fiercely. Your daughter, your job, your stability, don't throw that away for me. I'm not throwing anything away. I'm adding something. Someone. Elena reached out and touched his arm, feeling the tension in his muscles, the way he held himself like he was afraid of breaking something precious. Dom, I'm 32 years old. I've been a widow for 2 years, a single mother for 7, an orphan for 23. I know how to protect what matters to me, and I'm choosing to let you matter. The kiss happened before either of them planned it. A collision of need and recognition and 23 years of wondering what happened to the only person who'd really seen them. Dom's hands came up to cup her face, gentle despite the strength in them, and Elena pressed closer, her hands fisting in his shirt. When they finally broke apart, both breathing hard, Dom rested his forehead against hers. This is a terrible idea, he whispered. Probably. Elena smiled against his lips. But I've been making good decisions my whole life and I'm tired. Maybe it's time for a terrible idea. Your daughter doesn't need to know about any of this yet. We can be careful. Discreet. Elena pulled back enough to meet his eyes. I'm not asking you to meet Sophia tomorrow or move in or declare your feelings to the world. I'm asking for a chance, for us to figure out what this is without the weight of impossible expectations. Dom studied her face like he was memorizing it. You're really sure? I'm terrified, Elena admitted, but I'm sure. Are you? Instead of answering, Dom kissed her again, deeper, more certain, like he was claiming something he'd thought forever lost. And Elena kissed him back, tasting coffee and danger, and the ghost of the boy named Nico, who'd saved her ice wrapped in a stolen towel. Outside, the city hummed with life. The crew would arrive soon for the night's work. Elena's daughter was safely asleep 3 miles away. The world was complicated and dangerous and full of reasons this shouldn't work. But for now, in this moment, 2 people from St. Catherine's Home for Children were finding each other again, and that felt like the only thing that mattered. The relationship developed in stolen moments and careful secrecy. Elena would finish her cleaning shifts and stay an extra hour, sitting in Dom's office while he did paperwork, the silence between them comfortable in a way she'd never experienced with anyone else. Sometimes they'd talk. Sometimes they'd just exist in the same space, healing old wounds with proximity and presence. Dom started texting her throughout the day. Nothing romantic, just check-ins. How's Sophia's breathing today? Did your landlord fix the heat? Remember to eat lunch. Small things that showed he was thinking about her, that she was more than invisible in his world. 3 weeks into whatever this was, Elena made a decision. She invited Dom to Sunday dinner. Are you sure? Dom asked when she extended the invitation. They were in his office, Elena perched on his desk while he sat in his chair, their knees touching. Meeting Sophia is a big step. I know, but she's been asking questions about why I'm happier lately, and Elena took a breath. I want the people I love to know each other. Dom's eyes widened. Love? I didn't stutter. Elena's heart raced, but she held his gaze. I'm falling in love with you, Dom. Maybe I have been since I was 8 years old and you brought me ice for my bruised face. Maybe it's new, but it's real and I'm tired of pretending it's not. Dom pulled her into his lap, holding her tight. I love you too, he said into her hair. God help us both, but I do. Sunday dinner was both easier and harder than Elena expected. Sophia was shy at first, hiding behind Elena's legs when Dom arrived with flowers and a children's book about race cars. But Dom had experience with scared kids. He'd been one, after all. He sat on the floor at Sophia's level, let her approach on her own terms, and within 20 minutes, they were building a block tower together while Elena cooked. "He's nice," Sophia whispered during dinner when Dom was in the bathroom. "Is he your boyfriend, Mommy?" Elena chose her words carefully. "He's someone very special to me. Someone I've known a long time. Would that be okay with you?" Sophia considered this seriously, her small face scrunched in concentration. "Does he make you happy?" "Yes, baby, he does." "Then it's okay." Sophia smiled. "But he has to promise to help me with math homework. You're terrible at fractions." Elena laughed, relief flooding through her. "I'll let him know that's a condition of employment." After dinner, after Sophia was in bed, Dom helped Elena clean up. "She's incredible," he said, drying dishes while Elena washed. "Smart, brave, completely herself. You've done an amazing job with her." "Thank you." Elena handed him another plate. "She liked you too. That doesn't happen often. Sophia's careful about who she trusts, like her mother." Dom set the plate down and pulled Elena close. "Thank you for this, for letting me into your life, into her life. I know that took courage." Elena was about to respond when her phone rang. Unknown number. She almost didn't answer, but something made her pick up. "Is this Elena Morales?" A woman's voice, professional, cold. "Yes, this is Detective Sarah Chen with the Chicago Police Department. I'm investigating illegal street racing activities in the warehouse district. Your name came up in connection with the Midnight Dragons crew. I'd like to ask you some questions." Elena's blood went cold. Dom's expression shifted immediately to alert, protective. "I'm a cleaning contractor," Elena said carefully. "I clean their garage, that's all. You've been seen entering and leaving the premises at unusual hours, multiple times per week. Witnesses report seeing you with Dominic Castellano. Because he's my client, I'm contracted to clean his business. Ms. Morales, I'm going to be direct with you." Detective Chen's voice softened slightly. "You have a young daughter. You have a spotless record. You're exactly the kind of person who shouldn't be involved with people like Castellano. If you're providing information to his organization, if you're helping in any way with illegal activities, you could be charged as an accessory. That means prison time. That means losing custody of your daughter." Elena felt the room spin. Dom was already moving, pulling out his phone, texting someone urgently. "I'm not involved in anything illegal," Elena said, fighting to keep her voice steady. "I clean a garage, that's all. Then you'll have no problem coming in for an interview. Tomorrow morning, 9 a.m., 18th District Station. Bring your cleaning contracts, any communications with Castellano or his crew, and be prepared to answer questions under oath. If you refuse, I'll have to assume you're protecting criminal activity." The call ended. Elena stood frozen, the phone still at her ear. "Ellie." Dom gently took the phone from her hand. "Look at me." She did. His expression was fierce, determined, but underneath she could see the fear. "This is Julio," Dom said. "He must have tipped off the cops, given them your name. It's intimidation, trying to scare you away from me. It's working." Elena's voice shook. "Dom, I can't lose Sophia. I can't go to prison. She's everything. You won't. I promise." Dom cupped her face in his hands. "Listen to me. You've done nothing illegal. You have a legitimate cleaning contract with my business. You've never participated in a race, never handled money, never been involved in any crew activities. The cops have nothing on you except the fact that we know each other. But they can still make my life hell. They can investigate me, question my neighbors, make my employer nervous. I could lose my cleaning jobs. I could..." Panic was rising, threatening to overwhelm her. "Breathe." Dom pulled her into his arms, holding her tight. "Just breathe. We'll handle this." "How?" "I have a lawyer. Good one, expensive, owes me favors. I'm calling him tonight. He'll be with you at the interview tomorrow. You'll answer their questions truthfully. You clean my garage. We knew each other as kids. You've done nothing illegal. That's all true. They'll want to know about our relationship. Then tell them we're dating. That's not illegal either. Dom's voice was firm. Ellie, they're trying to scare you away from me, to isolate me, make it clear that anyone close to me becomes a target. Don't let them win. Elena pulled back to look at him. What if it's not about winning? What if it's about protecting my daughter? The words hung between them, sharp and painful. Are you saying... Dom's voice cracked. Are you ending this? I'm saying I don't know what to do. Tears streamed down Elena's face. I love you. God, I love you so much. But Sophia comes first. She always comes first. And if loving you puts her at risk, then you choose her. Always. Dom wiped her tears with his thumbs, his own eyes bright with unshed emotion. I would never ask you to choose differently. Never. But I don't want to lose you. Elena sobbed. I just found you again. I can't. You won't lose me. We'll figure this out. Dom kissed her forehead, her cheeks, her lips. Go to the interview tomorrow. Tell the truth. Let the lawyer protect you, and then we'll reassess. Okay? Elena nodded, though nothing felt okay. Dom stayed until late, holding her on the couch, talking strategy, promising everything would be fine. But after he left, Elena lay awake in her bed, staring at the ceiling, and knew that the life she'd built, the safe, invisible life, was crumbling around her. And she didn't know if she could save it while still holding on to Dom. The interview was brutal. Detective Chen was professional but relentless, asking the same questions in different ways, looking for inconsistencies in Elena's story. Dom's lawyer, a sharp woman named Patricia Santos who looked like she ate police intimidation for breakfast, objected to half the questions and advised Elena not to answer the other half. After 2 hours, they let Elena go. No charges, no arrest, but Detective Chen's final words lingered. Ms. Morales, I've been doing this for 15 years. I know the difference between someone who's just caught up in something and someone who's actively choosing it. Right now, you still have a choice. Walk away from Dominic Castellano before you can't anymore. Elena went home, picked up Sophia from school, made dinner, helped with homework, read bedtime stories, all the normal routines that felt surreal after the morning's interrogation. After Sophia was asleep, she sat at her kitchen table and finally let herself process what had happened. Her phone buzzed. Dom. How'd it go? Elena stared at the message for a long time before responding. We need to talk. Not tonight. Tomorrow. The 3 dots appeared and disappeared several times before his response came. Okay. She didn't sleep that night. The next evening, Elena left Sophia with Mrs. Rodriguez and drove to the garage. Dom was waiting in his office, tension written in every line of his body. The interview went fine, Elena said without preamble. No charges. Your lawyer was excellent. Detective Chen tried to intimidate me, but legally they have nothing. That's good. Dom's voice was careful. That's really good, Ellie. But it doesn't change the fundamental problem. Elena wrapped her arms around herself. You were right from the beginning. People close to you become targets. I'm a target now, and by extension, so is Sophia. We can protect you. I can... No. Elena's voice was firm. You can't promise protection, not really. Julio wants you gone. The police want to take down your crew, and I'm leverage against you now. We both know it. Dom stood, moving toward her, but Elena held up a hand to stop him. I need you to hear this, she said. I love you. That hasn't changed. But Sophia is 7 years old, and she deserves better than having her mother investigated by police or targeted by gangs. She deserves stability, safety, normalcy. Things I can't give her if I'm with you. So you're ending this. Dom's voice was hollow. I'm choosing my daughter. Elena forced herself to meet his eyes, even though it killed her. The way you'd choose her if she were yours. The way you chose Miguel when you left professional racing to keep him safe. We both know I'm making the right choice, even if it's the hardest one. What if I leave? The words burst out of Dom like they'd been building for hours. What if I walk away from the dragons, from racing, from all of it? I could get a legitimate job, be someone who doesn't put you at risk, and resent me for it within a year. Elena's heart was breaking, but she kept her voice steady. Dom, the dragons are your family. That garage, that crew, they're everything you built from the ruins of your adoption. I can't ask you to give that up, I won't. But I would. For you, I would. I know. Elena moved closer, reaching up to touch his face one last time. That's why I love you. That's why this hurts so much. But we both know you'd lose yourself if you walked away from your crew. And I'd lose myself if I put you before my daughter. We're impossible, Dom. We always were. There has to be another way. Dom caught her hand, pressing it against his cheek. Please, Ellie. Don't give up on us. I'm not giving up, I'm letting go. She pulled away physically and emotionally, creating the distance she needed to survive this. I'll finish out my cleaning contract. 2 weeks notice, professional and clean. After that, I'll request a different assignment. We can't see each other anymore, can't talk, can't... Her voice broke. We have to be strangers again. I can't do that. Dom's eyes were bright with tears he wouldn't let fall. I can't go back to not knowing you. You have to, for both our sakes. Elena backed toward the door. I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. Don't apologize for protecting your daughter. Never apologize for that. Dom's voice was rough. But Ellie, if things change, if Sophia grows up, if you ever need anything, I'll know where to find you. Elena managed a broken smile. Take care of yourself, Nico. Take care of your crew. Build something good. I'll try. He looked at her like he was memorizing her face. You too. Give Sophia everything we didn't have. Make it worth it. I will. Elena left before she could change her mind, before she could throw away every reasonable thought and choose love over safety, passion over stability. She drove home crying so hard she had to pull over twice. When she finally made it back to her apartment, Mrs. Rodriguez took one look at her face and pulled her into a grandmother's embrace. Oh, mija, she said softly. Breaking your own heart to keep her safe. That's what mothers do. It hurts so much. Elena sobbed into the older woman's shoulder. I know. But pain means you loved something real. And that's never wasted. The next 2 weeks were torture. Elena cleaned the garage professionally, arriving after Dom left and finishing before he returned. She left detailed notes about what she'd cleaned, inventory that needed restocking, anything to maintain the professional relationship without actually seeing him. The crew looked at her with pity and understanding. Lena hugged her on her last night, whispering, You're brave. Don't forget that. On her final shift, Elena found an envelope on Dom's desk with her name on it. Inside was a check, far more than she was owed for the contract, and a note in Dom's handwriting. For Sophia's medical bills. Not charity. Payment for showing me what courage really looks like. You saved me once at St. Catherine's by proving kindness existed. You saved me again by showing me what it means to love something more than yourself. Thank you for everything. Take care of our girl. And Elena cried for the last time in that garage, clutching the note, then carefully placed it in her wallet next to Sophia's photo. Then she left, walking away from the Midnight Dragons, from Dom Castellano, from the boy named Nico who'd been her first and truest friend. She drove home to her daughter, to her safe and invisible life, to the future she'd chosen over the past, and she told herself it was the right choice, it had to be. 6 months passed. Elena got a new cleaning contract, office buildings, boring but safe. She used Dom's generous payment to catch up on Sophia's medical bills and fix their apartment's perpetual heating problems. Life returned to its careful routine. Except Elena couldn't stop thinking about Dom. She saw him everywhere, in the cars that drove past her building, in the way Sophia laughed at something on TV, in her own reflection when she caught herself staring into space instead of working. The photograph from St. Catherine's was still in her wallet, tucked behind Sophia's picture, a reminder of what she'd lost twice. Detective Chen called once to check in, her voice almost gentle. "You made the right choice, Miss Morales. Castellano's been quiet lately, but that world doesn't change. You're better off." Elena hung up without responding. Then, on a Tuesday in March, Sophia came home from school with a flyer about a father-daughter dance at her school. "I know I don't have a dad," Sophia said carefully, not meeting Elena's eyes. "But maybe we could ask Mr. Dom." "If that's not weird." Elena's heart stopped. "Baby, Mr. Dom and we don't see each other anymore. But you loved him, I could tell." Sophia looked up, her dark eyes far too wise for 7 years old. "And he made you happy. I want you to be happy, Mommy." "I'm happy with you. You're safe with me," Sophia corrected gently. "That's different. Out of the mouths of babes." That night, after Sophia was asleep, Elena pulled out her phone and did something she'd resisted for 6 months. She looked up the Midnight Dragons. What she found shocked her. News articles from the past 3 months told a story. Dom had gone legitimate. The garage had officially registered as a legal auto repair and custom shop. The racing activities had ceased, replaced by sponsored track days at legitimate venues. Dom had even started a program teaching automotive skills to kids aging out of foster care. There was a photo attached to the most recent article, Dom standing with a group of teenagers in the garage, all of them wearing matching Dragons t-shirts, all of them smiling. The caption read, "Dominic Castellano, founder of Midnight Dragons Automotive with graduates of his foster youth training program. I know what it's like to age out of the system with nothing," Castellano says. "If I can give these kids a skill and a family, that's worth more than any race I ever won." Elena stared at the photo for a long time. Then she made a decision. The next Saturday, she drove to the garage. It was different in the daylight, less ominous, more professional. The bay doors were open, music playing, several cars in various states of repair. Elena recognized some of Dom's crew working, but there were new faces too, young people learning, being taught, being given the chance Dom and Elena never had. "Can I help you?" A teenage girl approached, grease on her hands, confidence in her stance. "I'm looking for Dom, Dominic Castellano. He's in the office. You have an appointment?" "No, but tell him Elena Morales is here. He'll know who I am." The girl disappeared. Elena waited, her heart pounding, second-guessing everything. Then Dom appeared in the office doorway. He looked different, not harder or older, but somehow more at peace. His expression when he saw her cycled through shock, hope, fear, and something that looked like joy before settling on careful neutrality. "Ellie." He approached slowly, like she might bolt. "You're here. I read about what you did. The legitimate business, the foster program, all of it." Elena couldn't stop staring at him. "You changed everything. You showed me I could." Dom stopped a few feet away, respecting her space. "After you left, I kept thinking about what you said, that Sophia deserved stability, safety, normalcy, and I realized my crew deserved that too. Not just for their own sakes, but because I wanted to be someone who could." He trailed off. "Could what?" "Could be worthy of you." Dom's voice was quiet. "I know 6 months ago you chose your daughter over me. That was the right choice, but I thought maybe if I changed, if I built something legitimate, something you could be part of without risk." He stopped, shaking his head. "I'm not saying that to pressure you. You made your choice. I just wanted you to know that you changed me even after you left." Elena felt tears on her face. "Sophia asked me to bring you to her school's father-daughter dance." Dom's eyes widened. "She did?" "She said she could tell I loved you, that you made me happy." Elena took a step closer. "She's right. You do. You did. You..." She took a breath. "Dom, I spent 6 months being safe and careful and invisible, and every day I missed you. Every single day. And I kept telling myself I made the right choice, that protecting Sophia was more important than my own happiness. But then I saw what you built, and I realized something. What? That maybe the best way to protect her is to show her what real love looks like. Not perfect love, not safe love, but honest love. The kind where two people choose each other despite the complications. The kind where someone changes their entire world because someone else showed them they could. Elena closed the distance between them, reaching for his hands. You went legitimate for me. You built something safe. I did it for me too, Dom said honestly. Turned out I was tired of looking over my shoulder, tired of putting my crew at risk, tired of the violence. You gave me permission to want something different. Then can I give you permission to want something else? What? Us. Elena's voice shook with emotion and courage. A real chance, without the danger, without the impossible choices. You and me, figuring out how to build a life together that includes my daughter and your crew and all the messy, complicated pieces of who we are. Dom pulled her into his arms, holding her like she was precious and found and finally home. Are you sure? Really sure? I'm terrified, Elena admitted into his chest. But I learned something from you. Being brave doesn't mean not being scared. It means being scared and choosing love anyway. God, I missed you. Dom buried his face in her hair. Every single day. I missed you too. Elena pulled back enough to see his face. So, about that father-daughter dance. Dom laughed. The real laugh, the one that showed all his teeth and made his eyes crinkle. I'd be honored. If Sophia's sure. If you're sure. We're sure. Elena kissed him, tasting salt and hope and the future they'd thought they'd lost. Welcome to the family, Dominic Castellano. If this story touched your heart, subscribe and stay for more forbidden journeys where past and present collide in unexpected ways. Epilogue. 1 year later, the father-daughter dance became the first of many milestones. Dom taught Sophia to change a tire, to check oil, to understand that cars were machines that could be learned and mastered. He came to her school plays and helped with math homework, especially fractions, and became the person she called when Elena was working late. Elena kept her cleaning business but also started volunteering at Dom's foster youth program, teaching resume writing and interview skills. She understood those kids in ways Dom couldn't, the specific fear of aging out, the weight of being invisible, the desperate hope for someone to see you. The Midnight Dragons crew became their extended family. Marcus, Lena, and the others welcomed Sophia like a niece, teaching her to be strong and brave and completely herself. Lena started dating Mrs. Rodriguez's nephew. Marcus finally asked out the woman who ran the coffee shop next door. The crew that had been built on street racing became something more, a chosen family, legal and loud and full of love. On their 1-year anniversary of reuniting, Dom took Elena back to St. Catherine's. The building was abandoned now, scheduled for demolition. They stood outside in the spring sunshine, looking at the place that had shaped them both. I hated this place, Elena said softly. For so long I hated it. Me too. Dom took her hand. But it gave me you, twice. So maybe it wasn't all bad. Maybe not. Elena looked up at him. This man who'd been Nico, who'd protected her when they were children, who'd become Dom and built an empire and then transformed it into something legitimate, because she'd shown him he could. Want to know something? Always. I used to have this fantasy when I was at St. Catherine's, that someday someone would come back for me, that I wouldn't just age out and disappear, that someone would remember I existed. She turned to face him fully. You came back for me, 23 years later, but you came back. You came back for me too, Dom said. When you walked into my garage, when you recognized me, when you gave me a reason to change, you saved me, Ellie. Again. Then I guess we're even. Dom pulled a small box from his pocket. Actually, I was hoping to make it uneven again. In my favor. Elena's breath caught as he opened the box to reveal a simple gold ring with a small diamond. I know we've only been officially together a year, Dom said, but I've known you for 23 years. I've loved you for at least that long in different ways at different times. You're my past and my present and the only future I want. Elena Morales, will you marry me? Yes. The word came out as a sob and a laugh simultaneously. Yes, absolutely yes. Dom slipped the ring on her finger, then kissed her in front of the building where they'd met as broken children, where they'd learned that survival was possible if you found the right person to survive with. 6 months later, they married in the garage, because where else would the Midnight Dragons leader get married? Sophia was the flower girl, wearing a custom t-shirt that said "Best Daughter Ever" with a dragon logo. The crew was there, and Mrs. Rodriguez and all the foster youth from Dom's program. Detective Chen even showed up off-duty with a wedding card that read, "Congratulations on proving me wrong. SC." Elena kept her last name, Morales, the name her mother had given her before the state took her away, the name she'd fought to keep through foster care and marriage and widowhood. But she hyphenated Sophia's, officially making her Sofia Morales Castellano, because family was about choice as much as blood. And every night after Sophia was asleep, Elena would look at the photograph from St. Catherine's, now framed on her bedside table, and marvel at the impossible journey from that brick building to this chosen life. 2 orphans who found each other, lost each other, found each other again, and built something real from the ruins. Not perfect, not safe, but honest and brave and full of the kind of love that changes everything. Elena had made a distress signal on a dark street 3 weeks into knowing Dom again, asking him for a chance despite the danger. But the real distress signal had been made 23 years earlier, when a little girl with a bruised face had smiled at a camera beside a protective boy, both of them hoping that somewhere, somehow someone would see them and remember they mattered. They'd remembered each other. And in remembering, they'd saved each other in the way that mattered most, by proving that the broken pieces of their pasts could be built into something whole. Together.